So I've been getting a lot of questions from not just my mom, but others as well, which is great about like what exactly Transistor is doing. And so we're kind of starting with this problem of that we're going to die, or at least we're all currently on the trajectory of death. And I personally do not enjoy that. I would like to continue living for as long as possible. The like I like waking up every day and breathing in and breathing out and going and sitting in a park, but like as it stands right now, we're kind of hurtling towards death, and I think that's unfortunate. And some people I don't know are kind of weirded out by the idea of immortality, but I I can't confess to understand them. So why are we all going to die? And there's two main reasons. I kind of bucketed into the thermodynamical one, which is the heat death of the universe. We are not trying to solve that problem, but if you are, I'd love to hear how you're breaking the laws of physics. But the second issue is that biology is complex and we're too slow. And this is the problem we are trying to solve at Transistor. And I think we can kind of overcome a lot of the issues biology has right now. And so how are we going to do that? And as any sort of agoraphobic nerd cares about, it's the solution is like, let's build a computer. And it's like, well, how's a computer going to have? Well, it's like not really a computer, but it's kind of a computer in the sense that it does computation. And the way we see it is we kind of have like the basic transistor. That's the name. And that transistor is composed of a model organism and a measurement device. It could be any organism, it could be any measurement device, but that's kind of the fundamental unit. We're going to start super simple. We're starting with the lovely worm. Planaria, fascinating worm. Honestly, didn't know a worm could be that fascinating, but I stand very much corrected, and we'll definitely talk about that in the future. So we have some transistor, and just like any computer, you'd say, hey, transistor, like, here's some input, right? In the biological context, we're thinking about some intervention, right? Some medicine, some environmental change, something. Here's some input, and give us a result back. And in computers, you expect a couple things, and one of them being you expect for any input you give it, you expect the same answer back, and you expect it to do it pretty fast, and faster every year, right? Those things are not currently true in biology. The reproducible is questionable at best, and the speed doesn't really seem to be dramatically increasing. And the problem is if you have 1,000 potential drugs or 10,000 potential drugs or the infinite space of drugs to test in order to see if they help a certain disease state, that's going to be very difficult to do with the current status quo of 10 mice, $100,000, and a couple years, right? At the end of the day. And from a first principles perspective, we're taking a look and we're saying, well, we kind of have these like very basic components, and so really what we need to do is we need to engineer solutions to massively scale each one of these things up. We need to massively scale the amount of organisms we have. We need to massively scale our ability to measure those organisms, and massively scale our ability to deliver interventions to those organisms. So that's what we're working on. The primary thing I would say is that humans are not going to be able to be in the loop for this scaling. They will, like a little bit in the beginning, but long term, you can't get to 10 million mice if you're still hiring lab techs to like pull the mice out, give it some food, pat it on the head. And so we're really, my background is in machine learning and robotics, and so we're really taking kind of a automation first approach to how do we solve this issue? How do we get from one worm to a trillion worms, sort of thing. So yeah, like in conclusion, the solution to immortality is basically infinite number of transistors, and they're growing at a throughput fast enough to be recognized in our life, and that's how we'll kind of search the space of possible drugs. And it doesn't just have to be longevity, right? Like you could say, if you are a biotech company or you are a pharmaceutical company, you say, hey, we have this warehouse of drugs, and we actually have some evidence that some might work for diabetes or obesity or Alzheimer's, but we don't really have the time, the money, and the inclination to test them all. With something like the platform we're building was something like, a transistor computer, it would actually be economical to do so. You'd actually get results you could trust. And, at the end of the day, what we really care about is tightening that feedback loop between things that are coming out of the lab and things getting to patients. And so that's what we're working on.